monster suddenly crawled out from the shore. The woman, however, showed no sign of fear. She looked at the time just right. Then she raised her crossbow, aiming at a target she couldn't even see. As the monster got closer, she pulled the trigger and hit the creature right between the eyes. The monster collapsed inside the circle she had drawn beforehand. Her name was Miss Peregrine. She was a peculiar being, a time-resetting bird. Miss Peregrine founded an orphanage to protect the children from evil forces. Every orphan here had a special ability. Look closely at the girl named Claire. Normal people ate with their mouths, but she held a chicken drumstick behind her head. In just 3 seconds, she finished the entire drumstick, leaving no trace. Miss Peregrine gently wiped the crumbs from Claire's lips. If there wasn't enough food on the table, it wasn't a problem. Fiona had the ability to enlarge any object infinitely. She focused on a carrot, and in the blink of an eye, a giant carrot broke through the soil. Then the youngest Bronwyn used her strength, and the enormous carrot was pulled from the ground with ease. Quickly delivered to the kitchen. Need hot water? No need for fire. Olive placed her hands on the kettle, and within seconds, a pot of boiling water sat on the table. There was also Hugh, who could spit out bees, and Emma, whose body was lighter than air. But the most mysterious were the twins Joel and Peter. Their ability was just like Medusa in Greek mythology. They could turn living creatures into stone just by looking at them. Though every child here had a peculiarity, they could only hide inside the time loop that Miss Peregrine created. This meant that all the children were trapped in September 3rd, 1943, forever frozen in time, never aging, until one day a boy from 2016, Jake, appeared. That day Jake received an urgent phone call from his grandfather Abe. Abe warned him that their house had been attacked by a monster. By the time Jake arrived, Abe was lying on the ground, barely alive. Jake was horrified to see that his grandfather's eyes were gone. With his final breath, Abe told Jake to go to the island he had always talked about, to return to September 3rd, 1943, and to find Miss Peregrine at the orphanage. She would give Jake all the answers he needed. With that, Abe passed away. To uncover the truth, Jake took his grandfather's old photos and traveled to the mysterious island. In a hidden forest, he found a rundown orphanage. The eerie place was in complete ruins, covered in dust, untouched for years. Jake wandered around, wondering why his grandfather had sent him here. Just as he was about to leave, a shadowy figure appeared in front of him. Startled, Jake turned and ran. As he reached the staircase, 2 girls were peeking at him from behind a door. In the corner, 2 masked children stood still. Jack panicked and ran as fast as he could, but tripped over a rock and fell. When Jake woke up, a group of peculiar children was staring at him. Surprisingly, he wasn't afraid, he was amazed. They were the very same friends his grandfather had always talked about. The children led him through a cave, until they reached a beautiful house. Jake was stunned. It was the same orphanage he had seen before, but now it was perfectly intact. The door opened. Standing there was Miss Peregrine herself. What Jake didn't realize was, he had already traveled back to September 3rd, 1943. The cave was the entrance to Miss Peregrine's time loop. Miss Peregrine immediately recognized him. Jake looked exactly like his grandfather when he was young. Under her guidance, Jake finally met all of the peculiar children in the orphanage. He realized that everything his grandfather had told him was real. That night, Miss Peregrine gathered everyone outside. A clock was placed on the table. Everyone wore gas masks, standing silently. Miss Peregrine checked the time just right. Suddenly, warplanes roared across the sky. As the last plane flew over, its hatch opened. A bomb dropped straight down, but Miss Peregrine remained calm. She pressed pause. Time froze. The bomb and raindrops hung in midair, motionless. Then she began rewinding her watch. Everything that had happened started moving backward. Time reversed, until they returned 24 hours earlier. Miss Peregrine had used her peculiarity to keep the orphanage safe in a never-ending time loop, locked forever on September 3rd, 1943. The next day, Jake asked Miss Peregrine about his grandfather's death. He mentioned seeing a terrifying faceless monster at the scene. Miss Peregrine's expression suddenly changed. She refused to answer and walked away. Her reaction made Jake suspicious. He felt that she was hiding something. Determined, Jake sought out Emma, the girl who could control air. Emma took him out to the open sea. Then, without hesitation, she dove straight into the water. Jake hesitated but followed. As they sank deeper and deeper, Jake started struggling for breath. Suddenly, Emma released a huge air bubble from her mouth, encasing Jake's head. He could finally breathe. Soon they reached a sunken ship. Inside, skeletons lay scattered across the floor, but Emma moved through the wreck as if she knew it well. She led Jake into a secret room inside the ship. Emma took a deep breath and gently blew out a stream of air. Instantly, the entire sunken ship filled with countless bubbles. As more and more bubbles appeared, the massive weight of the seawater was forced out. Emma quickly shut the hatch, sealing the water outside. Then she took out a small box. It was something Abe, Jack's grandfather, had given her for safekeeping over 70 years ago. Inside, there was a map marking the location of time portals, and several photos of men with all white eyes. The last photo showed a man named Baron. He was the leader of the Whites. They were once hologhasts. They ate the eyes of peculiar children to transform into whites. Abe had been one of the peculiars, but in the end he was still abruptly killed by a hologuest. Emma told Jack that he was also one of the Peculiars. Only Peculiars could enter the time